Results of the practice. Although the overwhelming majority of Westerners who entered the monastic life at Wat Pah Pong were male, there were also a small number of Western women who came to train as mechis. Chief amongst these was an American known by her adopted name, Khamphar, who arrived with her husband Paul after fleeing their home in Laos ahead of the communist takeover in late 1975. The couple decided to try to stay for 5 years, with the proviso that if at any time both of them wanted to leave, then they would do so. However, in the case that one wanted to go and the other wanted to stay, then they would both carry on and endure through the difficulties. It was challenging for both of them, but they survived the 5 years. At the end of every year, Luang Por would allow Mechi Khamphar to go to Wat Banana Chat for a few days, where she would have the chance to speak to Paul, by then known as Venerable Titapo. But mostly their relationship was confined to the odd clandestine note, secreted in an agreed spot in the forest on the Mechi's route to the kitchen. In many ways it was harder for Mechi Khamphar. As a nun, she had much less access to Luang Por, and in the Mechi section, her inspiration could easily waver. But Venerable Titapo did not find monastic life easy either, and sometimes he would probably have preferred the distance from Luang Por that his wife resented. By the late 1970s, Luang Por had become a more grandfatherly figure, but the old fire and ability to give corrosive admonishments would occasionally resurface. He could also accomplish the effect of a scolding without speaking a word, as he demonstrated one day when he caught Venerable Titapo breaking a key monastic regulation. Private supplies of tea, coffee, sugar and so on were forbidden at Wat Pah Pong. Everybody was expected to be content with whatever communal drinks were provided. However, a number of the Western monks, Venerable Titapo included, persuaded themselves that they were a special case in this respect, and if they were discreet enough about it, boiling a pot of water in the forest and having a cup of tea together was a minor, harmless indulgence. Every now and again they would meet at Venerable Titapo's kuti, where an ancient black kettle was secreted. One day, Venerable Titapo received a parcel of fine teas from his sister in England. In the late afternoon, he made a small fire in the forest behind his kuti, at a spot where the smoke would not be visible from the path, to enjoy a first cup of the new batch. But when an involuntary shiver passed through his body, he quickly turned around to see a motionless and stone-faced Luang Por watching him. It was the proverbial nightmare come true. Luang Por walked over to the illicit supplies, lifted up his walking stick, and knocked over a few jars of tea with a crash, spat on the ground, and walked off in silence. Luang Por spent most of the second half of 1979 overseeing the renovation of the monastery in Ban Ko, where he had spent his first years in the robes. Towards the end of the year, Venerable Titapo was assigned as his attendant. One day, a group of Thai visitors began to praise the Western monks for their renunciation and dedication. Luang Por agreed, yes, his Western disciples were accomplished. Many of them could chant the Patimokkha. "They're all very intelligent," he paused dramatically, "except for this one." He pointed to Titapo. "He's really stupid." Afterwards, Luang Por asked Titapo slyly if he got angry when he treated him like that. Titapo said, "How can you get angry with a mountain?" Luang Por was delighted. Laughing, he turned to one of the novices by his side. "Write that down, write that down." Eventually, the 5 years were up. In the last few months, Khamphar's growing sense of isolation in the Mechi section had been exploited by a fundamentalist Christian missionary. This had culminated somewhat bizarrely in her conversion. "Maybe she's right," said a deadpan Luang Por, startling Ajahn Chah who brought the news. After their departure, ex-Titapo adopted his wife's faith. The couple sent letters to Western monks lamenting what they called the aridity of Buddhist spirituality and exulting in what they believed to be a shared sense of Christ's presence. One of the main complaints was that after 5 years in the Wat, they could see no tangible results from their practice. No matter how much they had tried, life had always seemed to remain pretty much the same. These comments were passed on to Luang Por. Then, one day, a photo of the couple with their first child arrived in the post. It was shown to Luang Por. He looked at it for a moment and then said, "At last, they've seen the results of their practice."